Hello and welcome to Keep Information Systems Simple video on cleansing data. Now, I want to be very clear. We're going to cleanse, and I'm using the word cleanse in air quotes, a very small data set in a very simplistic way. When we're talking cleansing data for ERPs and migrations, there are a lot of tools and a lot of other processes we can use, but sometimes inside of Excel, we just got to make sure that our records are all there. And so in this data set that we have, in this file that we have, it's the same file we use for our count function, our count A function, and our count blank function, all which you can find links to those videos in the description below. But it's the same data set, and we don't have a solid number. How many records do we have? And so we used the count command to count the number of cashiers, and that's telling us that we have 1,044 records, which is our highest number. Count the number of items, we only have 1,024. Count the number of items in the pre-tax total, we only have 1,000. And if we do our blanks, we can see that our blank cashiers, we have 5. Our blank items, we're missing 25 records. And our blank pre-tax total, we're missing 49 records. So trying to figure out how many records we actually have. So simplistically, if we want to say our highest number, the cashier is 1,044, and we're missing 5. 5 of those records are blank. We can assume we have 1,049. So just as a record, I'm going to put 1,049 up here just to see. And that makes, so we're going to scroll down. I'm going to just scroll all the way down, and you can see how long this is going to take to scroll through 1,049 records. And please note that 1,049 records is really a small data set. Get to the bottom here, 1,050. Okay, so if we jump back up top, why are we showing 1,049? It's because we have the record with the cashier, our header. So 1,049 is our goal. And so we can have blank records. I'm not saying that it's impossible to have blank records, but let's start with the smallest number first, blank cashiers. And so you just kind of scroll through until you find a blank cashier. And there's a blank record. And luckily in this case, it's all blank. So you can right mouse click and most likely delete that record. And so when we jump back up, now we have 1,044 and only 4 missing records, right? And since we deleted one, we know we're going to be at 1,048 because that was an entire blank record. So let's scroll back down. So we scroll through this data. See if we can find one of our 4 missing cashiers out of 1,000. Awesome. A completely blank record. We're going to delete that one as well, and we're going to keep scrolling. As you can see, this can play tricks on the human eye. 599, another complete record. So I'm going to delete that row as well. And we're going to keep scrolling as we're halfway through. And please note, it's very likely that I'm making mistakes. I'm a human. We all are. We all make mistakes. And that's why we're trying to use as many of these formulas to help us as possible so that we can cleanse this data. And I'm only deleting the rows where the entire record is empty. All right, so I believe I've got all my cashiers. We'll scroll back up. Blank cashier is 0. Okay, and so cashier count 1,044. I'm going to, again, scroll all the way to the bottom. And see, this is not an incredibly efficient mechanism for cleansing data. And this is the easy part. In a minute, we're going to make this a whole lot more difficult. 1,045. Minus the header, 1,044. Our record is 1,044. Okay, so then let's look at our number of items. Number of items, 1,024. We're missing 20 of them. And so now we have to scroll through and find blank records in just column B. And we found April. And so April has a total, but we don't know how many items she sold. And so there's no way with the data that we have that we can fix this. Now we can flag this and say, we got to go figure out why we're missing this record. what happened. And that's basically what we'd have to do for every one of these records that has incomplete data. And so we would have 64 records out of 1,044 that we've got to go back and do some research with. But by using the count command to count the number of cells that have numbers in them in column B, or the pre-tax total, and then counting our blanks, we can start to figure out how many records we're missing and start allowing us to realize that we can't really import this data because 64 records are incomplete. So this is a very, very simple environment where you're cleansing some data. Obviously, with the data set that we have, you'd have to go do research, but the combination of count, count A, and count blanks allows us to start figuring out where we have bad data and how we can make that data better. This concludes our very short, very simplistic video on cleansing data inside of Microsoft O365.